Hey there, YouTube friends, Mass Bandit here. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and things are a little different, aren't they? If you look, you can see my hand. And we're going to be doing something a little different today. We're going to be drawing a map for my Dungeons & Dragons campaign that I run with some friends. This is my world that I created, the world of Pardo, the realm of Pardo. And there's a whole history to this realm, which I'll be talking about anytime I do a video. The big things you need to know about this are that the left side here, these cities, Rockmere, Voxburg, Tofton, and Ironstead, and Etherton, are all part of this Blue Coast, which is an area that's been colonized by humans. And they have steam technology, kind of steampunky thing. Gurndarul is a major dwarven settlement. The vast desert here kind of separates the west from the east, and all this eastern area here is kind of like wilderness wilds, and that's where all the elves live. See, when the humans came in, they kind of took over, and with their technology and pollution and mining and all that stuff, pushed the elves out. There's a lot more history than that, but for now, that's all you need to know. And then our campaign started in the city of Voxburg, which is kind of the capital. And so this is Voxburg. I drew this map, and you can see kind of what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be drawing a city map. This map is the city of Voxburg. It's kind of the capital. It's the biggest and most powerful city. And what happens in this world is each city has a region that it's in control of, kind of like a colony, but the colony is named after its city. So the Voxburg city is the capital of the Voxburg region, and the Voxburg region is the most powerful and most affluent region in the realm. And our campaign started here. Our adventurers all met here, and now they are en route to a new city. They have boarded an airship and are tracking down some evil people. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be drawing the map of Ironstead today. Ironstead is a mining colony. It's where most of the metal and other rare items are mined in the human area. And so because of that, we need to think about that when we're building the map. So let me take these away. And now this is where I'm at. I've done some preliminary sketching, and I will talk about what we have here. So first things first, all these lines are kind of topographical. You can see what we have here is we have this river flowing through the area, and it looks like it's been, and what I decided to have it do is they actually kind of carved it out and made it like their own little work area here. So this river cuts through the mountain, so we have like a peak or like a big cliff face right here. We have another sharp cliff face right here, and the river cuts through, and that's what we're doing with all of that. So the stuff here is going to be the industrial portion. It's where all the smelting and where all the forges are and stuff like that. And each of these little parts here are going to be little mines, and it's kind of hard to do from a top-down view. What we need to do is we need to fill in the stuff inside. This is our city gate. We need to fill the stuff inside the city gate. So the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to do big block chunks to kind of create the buildings of the city. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to draw specific roads. I'm going to use the buildings to create negative space, and that negative space are going to be the roads. So I hope you're excited for this. I mentioned this in a community post that I was going to be doing this. I'll talk more about what's going on with the gaming portion of the channel in the time lapse. But yeah, so for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy this little drawing video. So as I get started here, building these little blocks and putting the map together, I wanted to mention what's kind of going on. I have had zero drive to play any games, like none. I've tried several times. I haven't really played Planet Zoo since the DLC came out, and I've picked at Planet Coaster. I might have opened it once or twice since March. I assumed that having all this time at home during the pandemic here would up my production, and it's done just the complete opposite of that. I think it's because these creative simulation games are my outlet in my otherwise normal life. And as soon as that normalcy went out the window, the drive and the desire to use those games as a fulfillment kind of thing went out the window. I'm in talks with other people about park swapping and doing stuff like that. We're gonna, if any of those videos come back, it's probably going to be Planet Coaster, unless a new Zoo DLC comes back, which will probably get me to make videos of that. So if you are here mostly to know why there hasn't been any content on the channel in like 3 months, it's just because my creative outlets, my creative endeavor has gone to what you're seeing on the screen now. I've been spending a lot of time doing this and doing some other hobbies at home. And this is the first time in years that playing on the computer hasn't been a priority of mine, which is really weird. But anyway, we're finishing up this portion of the time lapse, so let's go ahead and talk a bit more about what's going on in the video. Alright, so that was just a quick little down and dirty thing there to get in the buildings. You can see I'm not building individual structures. I have done that before. I want to give you a look at that. This is from another world that I built, another city. This is the city of Porton. And you'll notice in this map, we have individual squares for each building, which is cool, but at the same time, I think it really muddies things up. So what I've done again in this map, which is the same in the Boxburg map, is I have added just single structures here. Big blocks of where you would see lots of different buildings. So it would be really easy to say somewhere in like this block, there's a tavern. Somewhere in this block, there's an inn, something like that. So that's kind of the thing we're doing. I was pushing a little hard so that it would show up better. Usually I don't draw this heavy. So it'll be interesting when we go in and when I erase it all after I've inked it in. I think the west side here is going to be some more buildings, but I think I might do individual ones here and then do farmland over here. And the idea is that this river runs to the sea, but it's kind of an inland city, and it's specifically for mining. And these big areas here are supposed to be like pit mines where they mine into the ground, and then there's also ones where you have mines in the tunnels. So we're trying to just show that this is a really industrial city. So probably some more buildings here, some farmland, and then we're gonna have forest here on the edge and maybe some forest down here. And this big spot here in the middle is actually going to be the airship terminal, and this world travel is done by airship. So let's go ahead and get into another time lapse where we build, where I draw. We're gonna expand our borders a bit this way, and then we'll add some farmland, and then we'll come back in and do the trees. So I have to admit that it's been a long time since I've had to do voiceover for a time lapse, let alone one as different as a drawing time lapse, but nonetheless. Some things, just so, again, I know in the last time lapse I talked about not having the drive to play video games, but I tell you what, I have really gotten into this whole D&D scene. So much so that, like I said, I've created my own world, and this is my first major time being the game master, GMing for our group. We have a party. For those of you that are interested in Dungeons & Dragons, hopefully you'll enjoy this little background about what's going on. I'll tell you a little bit about the campaign. So we have 5 people in the campaign. We have a gnome, who's an artificer. We have an artificer gnome named Colin. We have and then everyone else is human. We have a human rogue, whose name is Scoot. We have a human, a human ranger named Margot. A doctor, or I guess cleric, named Ava. Oh, and we have a warforged named, currently Suckaroot. He has changed his name several times. And like I said, it's kind of a steampunk setting. And we're playing a low magic campaign, actually. And in the next time lapse, I'll talk a bit more about the setting. Alright, so I've gone ahead and filled out pretty much, I think my map is all but filled out at this point, which means I think I am ready to move on to the next steps. I want to start adding some ink to this. So I want these gates to be quite beefy, so I'm going to go ahead and outline them in my thickest number 1 pen. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in with my second smallest pen, my 03, and I'm going to outline the buildings, the river, that kind of stuff, the trees, and we're going to see, because I think most of it's going to be done with either with that and then my 08. In fact, I'm going to do the river with an 8, I think. I think that'll be fine. So let me go ahead and do this river first before I do anything else. And you can see right away that's a much thinner line. And here, I don't really care if it's, parallel all the way across. This river is cutting right through this gorge here. It's kind of untamed, so if it's not perfect, I'm totally all right with that. So what's gonna happen is this is gonna be right here. A neat little area right here that kind of feels like a little place you could set a tent up or something. So that's kind of the fun thing here when I'm building these maps, is what I'm doing is I'm trying to think about stories and things that can happen in this map. Like, what are some things? Like, I know that these bridges are probably going to be drawbridges, especially the one farther west, so that we can get things in and out from the industrial area downriver. That's kind of my thought here, to the sea, where there's probably a port. If I had to guess, there's probably a port there. And I say I guess because I'm not quite sure yet. Okay, so we have a river, and we have some bridges, and we have an area for our industry. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and jump in and outline all the buildings. I'm still questioning what to do with all this. I think I might use my thinnest pen to outline these lines, maybe do dashed lines. That might look kind of cool. Just to give an idea that this area here, because otherwise it's gonna look really weird without these lines. Like, these lines, I think, help add to the overall look of the map. So yeah, let's jump into time lapse. Alright, so I went ahead, and I thought it would be really boring to watch me just trace trace everything. So I did it for a little bit, as you saw, and we jumped ahead to the final inking. So here it is. This is the city of Ironstead, pre-color, pre-eraser. I have to go in and erase all my pencil marks now, but hopefully now you can get a better sense of what's going on with the city here. I think it's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how it's turning out. There are some things, like this is going to be the government center. It's going to be like the city hall, and all these are going to be government buildings. As far as what purpose do they serve, I don't know. We'll see. I think one is probably like a courthouse. One might just be offices, capital offices and stuff like that. So what we're going to jump into now is, pardon me while I reach the coloring portion. We're going to be using Ohuhu markers. They are kind of a cheaper version of Copic. alcohol markers, and I have 100 and something colors here. And let me just show you, like, these are the markers that I'm going to be using. Ohuhu markers. And they have a broad chisel tip on one side, and then a fine point tip on the other side. And I have here my trusty palette list, because you can't really trust what the back of the marker is. Like this number 9, it looks like a light pink, but when you color with it, it's actually quite different. And so we're going to be coloring the map. And so let's jump right in. We'll do some time-lapsing of it. And yeah, then we'll give this one the old done stamp. One of the things that I don't have on this map that I kind of wish I did, and I might have to go back in, but I didn't give myself a lot of room, are labels. But that being said, since this is going into World Anvil, one of the things I can do is I can drop pins on the buildings and the areas that are important and mark it up that way, which is actually probably what I'm going to end up doing. So, gotta figure out what color our mountains are going to be. I'm not quite sure. Let's jump into the coloring process. I'm actually going to remove it from the book at this point because these markers do bleed. So I'm going to remove it, and then I will be back in time-lapse to color the map. So before we get too far into this portion, I do want to let everyone know that I am still a major noob with these markers. This is probably the third map I've colored with alcohol-based markers, and I try some things that just flat out don't work. And for me, these maps are supposed to be more of like a representation. Obviously, it's a map, as opposed to like a hyper-realistic thing. It's just not something that I want to put enough time in to make them look cool, but I don't want to necessarily spend days and days and days on these, because I mean, I'm writing an entire campaign, an entire world. So maps are something that's fun to do. It's a nice creative outlet, but for me, especially these city maps, they don't really add too much to the campaign other than just something cool to look at. But with that being said, I did mention the 5 characters in our group, and I mentioned that we're in a low magic campaign setting. The realm of Pardo here is a non-magical world, or not a non-magical, a low magic world. And that basically means, yeah, there's magic, but it's really rare. There's some great YouTube videos out there all about what a low magic campaign would be. But what I've done is I've gone ahead and we've modified the casting rules. If you play 5e, if you play D&D 5e, you know that you get certain classes get certain number of spells, and after a short rest or a long rest, you get your spells back, yada yada yada. In our world, first we've changed the amount of time a rest is. A short rest in our world is 8 hours, and then a long rest is like 2 or 3 days, depending on the situation, which is actually it really kind of creates some interesting dynamics. Like, the group has already found out that combat is a serious thing when you can't heal fully after a night's rest, which is really kind of a fun tweak on things. And one of our characters, the Ranger, which in standard D&D 5e is a magical class, in ours, the Ranger is not magical at all. They have 0 spells, 0 spell slots. And I was able to find an alternative Ranger, a low magic campaign or a non-magic version of the Ranger, and they get some extra bonuses to their attack and stuff, which is really, really fun. And I mentioned that we have a cleric, but they're playing it as a doctor, and so they are coming up with realistic ways that their quote spells would work. So they're still casting a spell technically, but they're flavoring it to be more practical, which is really kind of fun. And the same with our artificer. Our artificer is using like materials. Like, every time they scavenge something, they if he can find metal, he'll scamper and he'll put some metal away, or he'll put some, like, we were on an airship just recently and he made his way into the boiler room. He was able to sneak in there and get himself some coal, and so he uses those to quote cast his spells, and it's really a fun, flavorful way to play. In this world, most of this campaign is going to take place in the area that these humans colonized. They came from across the ocean, and with their technology, and kind of took over. And the natives, the elves especially, are none too happy. Dwarves and Gnomes have kind of fit in because they're tinkerers and miners and kind of industrial at heart. So it's a really fun campaign setting. I want to go ahead and now jump to the finished product, so sit right there. This is the finished product. This is the map of Ironstead, a city that my campaign, that my group is going to be. Oh, they're currently on their ways. In the making of this video, we have since played the game. We have had an adventure. I mentioned that this is a steampunky world. There are airships in this world, and the first thing the party wanted to do is get their butts on an airship and go somewhere cool. So I was able to work that into my main campaign ideas, and the party is now on an airship en route to this city, Ironstead, which happens to be the home of one of the party members. And so that'll be really fun to explore. So this is the finished map. One of the things with these markers is it totally changes the vibe of the map. Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. This might be a little technicolor, like the orange and the green and the blue. It doesn't really jive all that well. And in the video, you saw me butcher these, quote, mountains. They absolutely destroyed them. I just went in with the darker shade and just went over all the mountains in the darker gray, and I think it looks better, but by no means is it perfect. By no means is it good. I was excited to share with you this stuff that I've been up to, just to show you that I'm still being creative, and I do enjoy making content for you guys. And I do feel bad that I haven't had content to share with you of any variety. I do miss my YouTube community, but I'm not going to put stuff out that I'm not excited and inspired by. And that's going to kind of be the trade-off. There have been years where I thought I could grow tremendously and do daily content, and over the last couple years, that has clearly not been something that I can reliably do. And so this channel is always going to be a channel where whatever I am currently invested and passionate about is what I will try to make content for. I hope you are excited. I hope you enjoyed this at the very least, or at the very least just excited to see a video and for me to get a chance to talk to you and say, if you're still sticking around after all these months, I do appreciate you. I am all in on the D&D thing, so I would love to make more content, more maps, more stories about our campaign, if that is something that you guys are interested in. I know the Venn diagram of people who play Dungeons and Dragons, at least on Bro Nation, it seems like there's a lot of people that play Dungeons and Dragons. So maybe there's some of you out there that would be interested in that. I could share with you my world, the world on World Anvil, and you could look at it if that would be something y'all would be interested in. But I would love to hear your thoughts and your feedback down below. I don't need you to tell me, go back to Planet Coaster, go back to Planet Zoo. I know that's what a lot of you are here for, and when the mood strikes, it will be there. But I'm not gonna say anything about when to expect it back. I'm not even sure when the next video is going to be. This is a very weird time for me personally, and this whole quarantine and all that stuff. It's just been kind of funky. So yeah, we're kind of all over the place. My interests and my personal time has transitioned from electronics to tabletop simulators, and I play a lot of Magic the Gathering, and I play a lot of board games. Those are the things that are taking up my time. If any of that sounds interesting and you want to see videos on any of that stuff, you can absolutely let me know in the comments below. And gaming will always be a part of this channel. That will be the bread and butter, but in this weird time, I don't know. But hopefully this was enjoyable for you. And if you want to know more about the realm of Pardo, just let me know in the comments below, and I will be happy to share with you more of this crazy world that I am creating. So with all that being said, thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope you have a great day, great night, great whatever, and I will see you again for another video another time. Take care everyone, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.